Hi everyone, it's Natasha or MNOPXS2 from YouTube. I'm here today to show you how I make a 6 to 12 month clownfish hat. Isn't he cute? Alright, some tips before we get started. 1. I don't naturally crochet right-handed, so if it seems a bit fumbly in the video, that is why. Number 2, this hat is a 6 to 12 month hat, so if it's not the right size for you, I have a link below to my blog where there'll be other sizes available. And number 3, I tend to crochet a bit looser with my right hand than I do my natural crochet, so if you need to switch hooks, then definitely switch hooks. You can use the H or you can use whatever hook size you want as long as your gauge is about 4 double crochets for every inch. Thank you! Hope you enjoy! For this hat, I used medium worsted Super Saver Red Heart yarn in black, white, and pumpkin. You can change that as you wish. I used a 5.5mm crochet hook or size I or 9, a pair of little scissors in order to cut my ends. Some bobby pins are optional. I'll show you how to use them later on to sew on your stripes. A yarn needle for tying in my ends. Tape measure is also optional in case you want to measure your tassels on your hat. First off, we're going to begin on our hat, and I switched hooks, just showing you a different brand that I'm going to be using for this video. You're going to begin with a magic ring, and I do mine a little bit differently than some people here online. I basically yarn over itself, go in pretty much normal. I'm going to be chaining 2 here, and rather than going ahead and just crocheting in, I like to pull my circle super tight and loop over the yarn onto itself, kind of creating that ring and tying in the end at the same time. Now we're going to be working 9 double crochets into our magic ring there. So go ahead, yarn over, put your hook through, yarn over and pull your hook out again, yarn over, pull through our middle 2 loops, yarn over and pull through our bottom 2 loops, making our normal double crochet stitch. And again, we'll be putting 9 double crochets in there. Now that we're at the end, we're just making sure that I have 9 on there. I actually have 8. I'm going to pull my string super tight, that little tail in there, and I'm going to work my last double crochet in there while it is really tight. So now that we have 9, I'm pulling my string again tight. Now that we have 9, I'm just going to go ahead and slip stitch to the top of my first double crochet. So not in my chains, but in that first double crochet there. And then we're going to be chaining 2. And we're going to be working 2 double crochets into that same exact stitch that we had the slip stitch in. So this first one next to our chain 2 here. So go ahead and work your 2 double crochets in, and then work 2 double crochets in each stitch around. So we should have 18 double crochets around our second row here. And a quick tip when we're going into our ending of this row is we're not going to be double crocheting in that same hole as the chain 2. Actually, we're going to be skipping that, and we're going to be slip stitching to that first double crochet again. So not the chain 2, but our first double crochet stitch. Chain 2, and we're going to be working 2 double crochets into our first stitch again, so the same as our 2 chain stitches, and then we're going to work 1 double crochet into our next stitch. Then we're going to repeat that pattern. We're going to work 2 double crochets into our next stitch. And 1 double crochet into the next. And keep repeating that 2 and 1 pattern. Beginning row 4. We're going to have our chain 2s, and we're going to 2 double crochet in our first stitch here. And then we're going to double crochet once in the next 2 stitches. Again, repeating that, we're going to 2 double crochet in this next stitch. And double crochet once in the next 2 stitches. And we'll repeat that all the way around. For row 5, we're going to 2 double crochet in our first stitch. And double crochet once in the next 3 stitches. And go ahead and repeat 2 and 3 all the way around. For row 6, we're going to be a bit different. We're going to go ahead and 2 double crochet in our first stitch as usual. And then we're going to double crochet once in the next 8 stitches this time. So if you count 8 from where you are, you're going to double crochet once in each of those stitches across. Once you get your 8 double crochets across, you're going to repeat that same pattern. You're going to 2 double crochet in one, and then double crochet once in the next 8 stitches. So this is what you should look like at the beginning of row 7, and row 7 through 13 are going to be super easy rows for you. You're just going to double crochet all the way across rows 7 through 13. So no counting, no thinking, just go ahead and double crochet across the next few rows. So now that I have my 13 rows finished, I'm not going to fasten off. Instead, I'm just going to keep on working into my first ear flap. So I'm going to begin by chaining 1, and then rather than double crochet, we're going to be working half double crochets into the next 10 stitches. So instead of pulling through your middle two, like so, you pull through all 3. So now I have my 10 half double crochets and my first row for an ear flap is done. I'm going to be chaining 2 and rotating my work. Now from here I'm going to be working a half double crochet decrease, so yarning over, going into my first loop, yarning over, pulling out, yarning over, going into my next stitch, yarning over and pulling out. So I'll have 5 loops on my hook. Then I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 5 of those loops. So after your decrease, you're going to simply work 6 more half double crochets across and another decrease at the end. So here we have our 6 half double crochets, and I realized that I keep cutting off at the top. We're working 1 more half double crochet decrease. Then we'll chain 2 and rotate. And for our next row, it's a lot of the same. We're going to be working a half double crochet decrease. We'll be working 4 half double crochets this time. And another half double crochet decrease at the end of our row. I guess I lost the video footage for that row, so just go ahead and add it in. And then for your 5th row, you're just going to be working 2 decreases. And for row 6, you'll just be chaining 2, rotating and working 1 last decrease. Now I like to go ahead and leave a long tail here because we're going to be adding the tassels at the end. So you just leave a long tail at the bottom of your ear flap. Alright, for our second ear flap, we're going to go ahead and count 18 stitches across. And beginning in our 19th stitch, we're going to attach our yarn on. And then just like last time, we're going to be chaining 2 and working 10 half double crochets across. And just repeat the same exact ear ear flap pattern as before. Pretty simple here. Once we finished our second ear flap, we're just going to go ahead and single crochet all the way across the edge of our hat. So starting at one ear flap, going around your hat and ending on that same ear flap. Once you have your single crochets all the way across, like so, you can see them there above the double crochets. You're just going to cut yourself another long tassel for your other side of your hat and go ahead and fasten off. And so that is our basic hat. I'm beginning my eyes with a magic ring and chaining one. And in black here, I'm going to be working 6 single crochet into my magic ring. And then again, we're going to attach into our first single crochet, but here I'm going to be switching colors. So instead of yarning over and pulling out, I'm going to yarn over in my next color, which will be orange, and pulling the orange through both of the holes. Now you can choose to hide your strings as you go along here, or I like to tie mine together and hide my strings afterwards. So I go ahead and tie my strings on, and I'm just going to cut the end of my black off. And then I'll just begin my second row in orange here. With orange, I'm going to be chaining one, and then I'm going to be making 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So by the end of your rotation, you should have 12 single crochets around. Beginning our next row here, I'm simply going to work a slip stitch. And I'll be adding white now to the eye, just like we did the orange and black before. So then cutting that tail off because it's icky, yarning over here with the white, going ahead and pulling through. I'm going to tie on again, and again you don't have to knot these together if you don't want to. You don't even have to switch colors the same way if you don't want to. I'll be cutting my orange off. And with my white, I'm going to be chaining one. Then I'll be working 2 single crochet in my first hole. And 1 single crochet in my next stitch. Again, working 2 single crochets in the next stitch. And 1 single crochet in the next. So repeat that all the way around. For our last row, we're going to begin by slip stitching into our first single crochet again. We'll be chaining 1 then. Be working 2 single crochets in our first stitch, followed by 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And we'll be repeating that pattern all the way across, and that's 2 single crochet in our first stitch and single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and repeat. At the end of our row, we're just going to slip stitch again into our first single crochet. Then we're going to fasten off, leaving a long tail so that we can sew the eyes onto the hat. And you'll make 2 of these eyes. Now we're going to begin our dorsal fin, and we're going to begin the same way by making a magic ring. And to start your magic ring and get it set up, you'll chain 2. This time we're going to 6 double crochet into our magic ring. Once you've got your 6 all the way around, you're going to join to the top double crochet of your first row. You'll be chaining 2, and then you're going to double crochet twice in each stitch around. So 1 and 2 in your first stitch. Remember to go in the same stitch as your chain 2. Double crochet in each stitch twice around. We're going to join our rows with a slip stitch in our first double crochet. So those are our first 2 rows. Then we're going to chain 2, and we're going to 2 double crochet in our first stitch to begin round 3. Next we're going to double crochet only once in our next stitch, and we're going to double crochet twice in our next stitch, and you'll repeat this 2 and 1 pattern all the way across. Round 4 is really easy. You're just going to double crochet all the way around. For round 5, we're going to 2 double crochet in our first stitch and then double crochet in the next 2 stitches, then 2 double crochet in the next stitch, and double crochet in the next 2 stitches, and repeat that around. Then we join to the top of our first double crochet, we make a slip stitch here, and we're going to leave a really long tail. We're going to leave a really long tail to be able to sew onto the hat, and then just fasten off. Now we are going to slip stitch our black under our hook, and we're going to go ahead and single crochet all the way across the top rim of our fin. And I'm sorry that I accidentally switched to left hand in this, but it's the same. If you're doing it right hand, you're just going to go ahead and make a single crochet all the way across the top of your fin. When you're done, you should have a really cute dorsal fin with a black border on the top. To begin our middle fin, we're going to have a magic ring, and we're going to go ahead and 6 double crochet into our magic ring. For round 2, we're going to go ahead and chain 2, and we're going to double crochet twice in each stitch around. For round 3, we're going to chain 2 to begin. We're going to 2 double crochet into our first stitch, then we're going to double crochet once in the next 3 stitches. So I have my first 2, my first 1, and then crochet in the next 2. Then we'll double crochet the same way all the way around, so 2 in 1 stitch, and double crochet once in the next 3 stitches. We're going to fasten off, leaving a long tail here. And same as before, we're going to be attaching black single crochets along the border. So this is what our middle fin should look like when we're all done with it. To begin our tail fin, we're going to join with a slip knot onto our hook. From there, we're going to work a foundation chain of 6. We're going to be skipping our first 2 chains, working in our third here. We're going to double crochet across the next 4 chains. When we get to the end of our work, we're going to be double crocheting back in those same 4 chains to kind of be working the base of our tail. So double crochet once again in the same last chain and double crochet across the next 3 chains. And this will be forming the base of our tail. Once we get to the end, we're going to be switching our colors to black. Just at the end of my slip stitch here, I'm adding black. And you can either hide your strings or feel free to tie them together. They're going to be in the middle of your tail so you won't see. We'll be pulling our tail through the bottom, that way you'll be able to sew it onto your hat. In black, you're going to 2 single crochet into your first stitch. Then you'll single crochet into your next stitch once. Then you're going to 2 single crochet in your next stitch. And you'll repeat this 2 in one stitch and 1 in the next pattern all the way around. When you get to the end, you're going to join in your first single crochet with a slip stitch, and during that slip stitch is when I like to change colors. In white, you're going to join You're going to chain 2, and you're going to double crochet in each stitch across. And then you're going to join with the slip stitch and changing colors. And I like to keep all my colors attached while I work on it. It makes it easier. So just switch to the black that's still attached, and it's up to you if you want to do this differently. In black, you're going to chain 1, and you're just going to single crochet in each stitch around. When you get to the end of the black, you'll switch to orange, and you'll chain 2. And for this, you're going to 2 double crochet in the first stitch, and then double crochet once in the next stitch, and you'll double crochet 2 in the next stitch, and double crochet 1 in the next stitch, and repeat this across. For round 6, we're not switching colors. We're going ahead and just chain 2, and we're going to double crochet once in each stitch across. For this one, I accidentally switched to left hand again, but the pattern will be the same if you're using your right hand. You're just going to slip stitch through the top loops of both sides, joining your fins together. So getting the top loops of each stitch, you're just going to slip stitch them together. And you'll work this all the way across. Adding black, we're going to single crochet along the top of our fin, kind of like we did with our other fins. And that is all we will need for our tail fin. To make our side fins, and you're going to want to make 2, we're going to leave a long tail this time while we double crochet 6 times into our magic ring. Once we reach the end of our magic ring here, we're going to go ahead and pull that really long tail through the middle hole there. We're going to be using that really long tail there to attach our fin to our hat. After you've slip stitched to the top of your first double crochet, you're going to go ahead and chain 2. You're going to 2 double crochet in your first stitch, And you're going to go ahead and double crochet once in the next 2 stitches here. So repeating that, you're going to 2 double crochet in the next stitch. After that, 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches. For round 3, we're going to repeat the same exact thing. We're going to 2 double crochet in our first stitch, and double crochet once in the next 2 stitches across. And again, repeat the 2 double crochets in one stitch and 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches, pattern around. For round 4, we're going to do the same exact thing one more time. 2 double crochet in our first stitch, and double crochet once in the next 2 stitches around. We're going to be joining the top of our fin, much the same way we did our tail fin. We are going to be slip stitching in the top loops of each stitch across. We'll finish our fins off with a single crochet across the top of our joined slip stitches. Adding stripes to your hat is really easy. First, you're going to join onto your hook with a slip knot. And for the largest stripe, you're going to go ahead and chain 51. For your smaller stripe, you will only chain 46. When you reach the end of your chain, you're going to go ahead and skip the first 2, and you'll double crochet across the remaining stitches. So on your large stripe, you will double crochet across the next 49, and on your small stripe, you will double crochet across the last 44. When you get to the end of your double crochet row, you're going to go ahead and change colors into black. And you're going to simply single crochet around your entire rows. So it's going to form a border through both your chain side and on top of your double crochets. At the end, make sure you finish off with a long tail to sew onto your hat. Now we're going to go ahead and put all our pieces together. So we should have all the pieces here. My favorite part is to start out with the eyes. So after you've figured out where on your hat you want your eyes, I usually leave one row in, or one double crochet row in. We're going to cut off all our ends, and you can choose to hide them in your work, or you can do as I do, just snip them short and hide them underneath your eye. I'm going to go ahead and take my yarn needle, thread my yarn needle with my end, and it's completely up to you how you sew it on. Some people whip stitch, some people go all the way through the hat. I just like to pull up one piece of each stitch. And sorry, I'm trying to get my camera to focus so you can see this. I like to pull up only one piece of my stitch. So that it doesn't show on the other side. I'm just going to go ahead and weave in every other stitch. And again, you can attach your eyes and your fins whichever way you want. This is just how I've been doing it. Next I'll show you how to attach my top fin. First I'm going to go ahead and hide those black strings that were dangling. You can do this again any way you want. I choose to just go through the stitches. I'll pull my end through, and just to make sure that it's secure, I'm going to pull it through again the opposite direction. And that's how I like to hide my strings, and just cut off that little bit of end. Alright, to attach it to the top of the hat, you just kind of want to make sure it's even from the middle of your hat to the end. And you can go ahead and whip stitch it, or how I like to do is go through one side, pull up a bit of the hat, and then go through another side. And I'm just going to weave in and out each side till that works. After you've attached all your fins in much the same way, we're going to go ahead and work on my favorite part, which is stripes. And this is the part where I ask for the bobby pins, and it's totally up to you how you do this. I like to fold my stripes in half so I know about how much goes on each side, so that they're kind of secure onto the hat. Again, you don't have to do this. This is just why I like to use the bobby pins. It kind of gives me a place to attach them with. After you've got the bobby pins in place, you're just going to attach your stripes the same way you attached your eyes. Almost done here, we just need to add some tassels. Isn't he cute? You can either cut 50-inch strands, or once you get used to it like me, just kind of cut a long length of yarn, and you're gonna cut You're going to cut 9 strands for each side of your hat. Once you get your 9, you're going to go ahead and fold them in half, giving you 18. This nice spot in the hat, and depends where you want it. I like to put it through the middle 3. You're going to attach it to your hat by pulling it through the ear flap. Once you've got it pulled out a ways, just pull your end tassels through, and make sure to also pull that strand that we had left on the hat. Pieces, you can go ahead and find them and pull them tight. It's pretty easy from there. You're just going to go ahead and braid your tassels. I like to pick about 6 or 7 strands for each. I think you end up with 6 for 2 and 7 on 1. Then you're just going to go ahead and braid it as long as you want. When you get them the length that you want, and cut your ends off. And there is your finished clownfish hat. I hope you guys enjoyed my video, and thank you so much for watching.